Not only is the Katt Williams roast causing drama in the comedy world, it's also making a stir in the real world because people all around the world are trying to figure out what's happening with Kevin Hart that will make him feel comfortable letting this comedian get on stage and say those hateful things about George Floyd. I guess it was supposed to be a joke, but nobody was really laughing. A lot of people couldn't stand it, and one of those people just so happened to be Dl Hughley.
All right, so a lot has been made about the Kevin Hart roast on Netflix, particularly a joke that Tony Hinchcliffe told about George Floyd. I find it ironic that a comedian who appeared at a Nazi rally for Trump a couple of years ago and told a very incendiary joke would end up with that was in Jumanji. I just don't think those audiences match. But this is comedy; you could do whatever. The spirit of a roast, I remember years ago when it was the Dean Martin roast, you got the sense that those people liked each other. Those people had an affinity for each other. That it was kind of tongue-in-cheek. I don't get that sense at all. You are entitled to tell a joke, but it cannot be just jokes when the very audiences that support that kind of comedy got upset when someone said anything about Charlie Kirk. As I recall it, there were calls made to try to get people fired for just saying anything about Charlie Kirk. It cannot be just jokes when the current president of the United States of America is trying to get a comedian fired for telling a joke he didn't like and using the power of the FCC to do it. It can't be just jokes when the aforementioned man got so offended that, again, he's trying to get people fired, but he depicted Obama and his wife as apes. So jokes are fine, and I will defend the right to say whatever you want. But it is not a one-sided thing. And decidedly, there are people we've seen 3 times when this president, and who I would say the same people that like Trump, like these comedians. Same people. Now, how is it that you call it, when you do it, it's called comedy. When they do it, a joke that you don't like about somebody you don't like, is something entirely different. I don't understand how those audiences meshed. I think I respect the right for anybody to say whatever it is they want to say. This is comedy. And, but it cannot be a one-sided street. It cannot be a one-sided affair. And let's be clear. When anybody, any white guy wants the freedom of speech, when they are yelling for freedom of speech, when they are clamoring for freedom of speech, they really want the freedom to be able to say. All right, that's a little note from the GED section. Got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the Dl Hughley.
Let's be real. Who's your favorite king of comedy? Is it Dl Hughley, Bernie Mac, Steve Harvey, or Cedric the Entertainer? Which way do you rank them? If you do put Dl Hughley in your top 4, would you rather see a new Kings of Comedy featuring Katt Williams, Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, and another comedian, up and coming, maybe young DC Fly? Would people be willing to sit down and watch that? At the end of the day, it was a comedy roast. They invited this man to the comedy roast. What if he would have said everybody at the comedy roast looked burnt except for him and Tom Brady? Y'all would have been mad about that. I'm not saying what he said was right, but what do you expect? Him to give endearing jokes about people when they there cracking jokes? His funny is not your funny. Your funny might not be his funny. Everybody get funny when things get funny. If it wasn't for them being funny, it wouldn't have been a comedy roast. But I didn't think his joke was funny. George Floyd passed away, rest in peace, and so did a lot of other brothers. When it comes to police brutality, that is not a laughing matter. Dl Hughley, I don't know if he's a comedian or an activist. I'm wondering how come nobody ever invite him to a roast. He might get personal. Kevin Hart, if you listening, man, the LOL network was the best thing ever. I admire him for trying to break out new talent, introduce young people to the comedy genre, but it don't seem like it worked. Because new comedians want to get that money up front, and they will rob you like Pooh Shiesty if you're not trying to give them the bag. It sounded to me like Kevin Hart wanted Dl Hughley to cool off, relax, take a joke for a joke. But when it comes to black people being slaughtered, Dl Hughley is not trying to back down, and I don't blame him. Netflix aired the comedy special, but nobody want to go that route. It's easier to take direct shots at Kevin Hart because he was the one on stage laughing. Katt Williams was there too. How come Katt didn't flip out and tell that boy to watch his mouth? Now Dl Hughley all behind the scenes speaking on it, and Kevin Hart recently had to address him.
Holy shit, Katt Williams, insane. The shock factor kept being there. Katt's set was insane. There's no emotions attached to a roast. You get up there, you tell your jokes, and we understand that they're going to come with some heat, but that's what a roast is supposed to be. You can't have emotions. You got to understand what the assignment is, man. Everybody came out there and did their thing. To all the fans that just understand and appreciate what a roast is supposed to be. You got that. Got that yesterday. No emotion. No emotion, no feelings, man. It's not what a roast is about. Leave the emotions and the feelings at the front door. People are coming in and they're looking for the shock factor. They're looking for the crazy reaction about the hard-hitting joke. Let them fly. It's all in the efforts of being funny.
Kevin Hart is still catching it for laughing at those George Floyd jokes at his comedy show.
I know how Katt Williams tried to tell us a long time ago about Kevin Hart. Everybody just wanted to laugh. They didn't want to listen. And y'all see how he was the only one at that roast who was roasting the fuck out of him to his face, calling him he's a whole jigaboo, a bootlicker. That man took every role that Katt Williams turned down. Why? Because he's tired of comedians making black men look bad. Stop accepting these roles just for a little bit of coin. But see, it shows y'all true character, that most of y'all can be bought.
Can someone tell me what was funny about that white man getting up on that stage talking about some George Floyd is looking up at us right now? Laughing so hard that he can't breathe?
Ari Spears, J. Anthony Brown, and a plethora of other black comedians are under the comments on Black Women's Post talking about it's just a roast because some black women felt like the anti-black jokes at Kevin Hart's roast were inappropriate, especially right now with all of this congressional redistricting and all of this racism going on. Racist jokes are not funny to the rest of us, but they're always going to be funny to a bunch of it's always going to be funny to niggas that need, some of them people's money like that enough to let them play in their face like that.
Here's my take on the backlash from the roast. I respect people who are sensitive. I don't respect the hypocrites, and that's the vast majority. That's what pisses people off. That's what comedians are fighting against. It's the hypocrisies. Everything be funny is ha-ha, kiki until it's your group or somebody you like or something you care about, then it ain't funny no more. Nah, that's whack. That's whack as hell. Either be offended by all of it, which is fine, then maybe you probably shouldn't watch roast if you're one of those people. Probably shouldn't go to comedy shows if you're one of those people. Or you got to let all of it ride. But what y'all like to do is pick and choose which things you want to be mad at, and that's whack.
It's one thing to roast the people that's there. It's one thing to roast the people that may be in the audience there. Roasting somebody that, number one, is dead. Number two, that's not there. Number three, that the implications of why you should joke about that. Like Tony Hinchcliffe joke about George Floyd didn't make fucking sense to me. It was no reason to bring George Floyd into this. It just was disgusting.
And I guess Kevin Hart look at it like, I'm gonna be good regardless of how y'all feel about it. Rather if you can take a joke or can't take a joke. He's in the comedy business. Rather you eat meat or don't eat meat. Don't come to my restaurant. We don't do vegetarian dishes. If you only eat meat and you don't want vegetarian dishes, don't come to my vegetarian restaurant. It's only so much you can do when you're in business. Now, I do feel like he needs to address this situation, but even if he do address this situation head on, it's a little too late because he sat up there and laughed while that man was cracking those jokes about George Floyd. Me, I wouldn't have thought it was funny, but when you're in the mood to laugh and you're in a comedy setting, you can't be expecting to be serious the whole time. You looking forward to laughing at the people's jokes because it's a comedy roast. You don't want to be up there the angry person getting roast. You don't want to be the sourpuss at a comedy roast. That'll defeat the purpose of them roasting you if you can't take a joke. Regardless of what the joke is or who's telling the joke, if you're on the podium and you're supposed to be smiling for the cameras and it's a big Netflix production and they get to telling them racist George Floyd jokes and you sitting there smiling, they could see all the back of your teeth. You know he got paid. But if it was me or if it was you, we probably would have felt the way about it, or at least made an angry face, or suck your teeth, or wave him off, or do something to let them know, hey, that's not cool, or wait until he done with his comedy set and then get on the mic and explain how you didn't appreciate the joke. Snatch the mic like Kanye West, pull a old dirty bastard or something. He ain't do none of that. Still not trying to do none of that. He lost a lot of respect from the black community, but to be honest with y'all, that wasn't his target audience since Soul Plane, Paper Soldiers. He ain't did no black movies since I don't know when. He can care less about a black audience. At least that's how I see it. Y'all need to let me know how y'all see it. Got so much love for everybody out there watching. Make sure y'all do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel too.